Hello friends, welcome once again to Rick's Garage. Today we have a 2010 Nissan Rouge in the garage. She brought this car in today because it's making a noise in the front end and she's due for a sticker this month, so she wants me to check it out. So we're going to have a look, see at what's going on. Off camera I went ahead and installed the jack stands, and I did indeed chock the rear wheels. I've got the camera set up under the car, and the first thing I'm going to focus in on is this ball joint right in here, so keep an eye on this when I shake the wheel. Well, something feels pretty loose. Definitely. Definitely something going on right here. So I'm alone here. I can't see what you're seeing, so I'll go ahead and review the video. Okay, after reviewing the video you just saw, it's very clear that the problem is indeed with the ball joint. There may well be other problems. We're going to go ahead and replace this ball joint, and we'll check the other components as we go along. Friends, in the interest of time, in an effort to make this video as short as possible, I went ahead off camera and removed the brake caliper, the brake bracket, and the rotor. Please refer to several videos I've posted on my channel on the proper way to service brakes. Off camera I went ahead and removed the nut from the cross bolt that holds the ball joint in. Now this is the bolt that's going to give you all the trouble. This bolt is totally frozen. Now if you try to force it with a breaker bar and snap the head of that bolt off, you're going to find yourself in the unfortunate position of doing this. So the game plan here is to soak it with the penetrating oil. I like to use Croil. I'm going to soak it pretty good. I've already done that off camera. And then I'm going to take the air hammer and I'm going to blast the hell out of it, trying to shock it enough so some of that penetrating oil is able to seep in. Then I'm going to take the air hammer and try to work it back and forth until it loosens up. Once I get it to spin, I can easily tap it out from the other side. Alright, now having done that, I'm going to put my impact wrench, and I want to see if I can get this thing to turn at all. Looks like it turned a little bit. Yeah, looks like it's slowly loosening up. I'm going to put a little more oil on it. Looks like we might be able to get this one out without heating it. I'm just working this back and forth to loosen it. See, it's pretty loose now. Alright, that thing's spinning like crazy. Now we'll give it a few love taps from the other side and see if we can get it out. You're looking at it from the other side. And I'm going to try to be a little friendly with it to start out with. I got a brass hammer. I'm going to give it a few taps and you see it's going right through. So. Well, actually it came right out. So, we're good. Alright, so now we've got to try to drive that ball joint out of there. Alright, so what I've done here is I've put a little jack under the hub to jack up the knuckle. I want the control arm to flop down, so I don't want to be jacking on that. But I just want to get the control arm enough room to actually drop down. The other thing I've done is I've cut away some of the rubber on the ball joint so I can access just the ball joint. What I want to attempt to do now is to drive the pin out of the knuckle. So the lower control arm now has room to move down because I'm holding up the knuckle with the jack. The reason I cut away some of the ball joint boot is so I can be sure that I'm hammering on only the ball joint. I don't want to destroy this control arm. I want to try to preserve it because the bushings look like they're in pretty good shape, and I can just simply press another ball joint in and saving the young lady some money. So let's see how this works out. Oh, by the way, make sure you have safety glasses on when you're doing this stuff. So I'm using a chisel that's slightly curved, and I'm going to try to That worked out great. Now the next thing I want to do is disconnect the ABS cable. I don't want to be stressing on that because I'm going to be manipulating this steering knuckle all over the place. So I'm going to disconnect it from this bracket. There's two places. There we go. And then I'm going to unplug it. There's one more tab up here we need to disconnect, a bracket. There we go, that's off. So now, to remove this plug, simply press in this little tab and slip it out. Okay, I'm now going to take off the axle nut. Off camera I removed the cotter pin. There was no need to have you watch me struggle with that, as they're always a pain. Now this could have been done earlier, and if you don't have access to impact tools, you probably should have done it before you even took the wheel off the car. If you don't have impact tools, you probably shouldn't attempt this job anyway. So we're going to get this out of there. I've already soaked it with penetrating oil. This is a 1 1/4 socket, by the way. And she came right out. Like I said, that would not be possible at this stage unless you have impact tools. Next, we're going to remove the bolts that attach the steering knuckle to the strut. They're 21 millimeter. And the reason for this is I want to be able to pivot this knuckle out of the way, which would make it easier to press the ball joint back into the control arm. And also, that pin's going to be very difficult to line up, being a straight pin, with the steering knuckle once you're ready to reassemble. With the steering knuckle detached from the strut, it's going to be a lot easier to manipulate to line that up. Alright, that was easy enough. Let's get the other one. Okay, and now we're ready to try the lower one. I'm going to pull those two bolts out. They came out easy enough. I'm going to put the nuts back on them. Okay, with that unbolted, we should be able to slip it right out of the axle and pivot it off to the side. Just, you know, be careful of your ABS wire. Alright, that was easy enough, and that's well out of the way. Now that we've got things out of the way, we can kind of check some of the other components out. The strut mount seems nice and tight. The tie rod end on this end is good. Let's see what the axle looks like. I don't feel any play, and I'm turning it and it seems to be okay. The boots seem to be in pretty good shape. Unlike the other side, I don't think we have to replace that. So it looks like all we needed on this side was just the ball joint. Now I'm going to tie this axle up to get it out of the way. To make this video as short as possible, I'm going to go ahead and press the ball joint in off camera. The reason for this is I've already got a video on my channel showing how to press in this exact ball joint. So if you want to see the ball joint being pressed out and in, refer to that video in my channel. One other thing I want to mention is when you're trying to install this snap ring back in, make sure you wear safety glasses. Yeah, that looks like that's in nicely. Alright, we're ready to try to slip the knuckle over the ball joint pin. Off camera I went ahead and put some lithium grease on it. Okay, so I've slipped the axle into the knuckle, and now I'm going to try to lift the knuckle up and get it onto the ball joint pin. Now the trouble is the ball joint wants to keep lifting up, so I'm going to have to hold that down with one hand and try to maneuver this overhead with the other. And here we have it. Okay, so now we got to try to slip the thing in. Alright, now that I've got it started, I'm going to go ahead and slip the two strut bolts in. And then I'm going to put a jack under the ball joint control arm and see if I can get it the rest of the way in. Alright, so what I'm attempting to do now is to put a little, to jack the control arm up so that the ball joint will slip into place, and it looks like that's exactly what's happened. So I'm going to get the ball joint bolt in before we do anything else. This is that thing we got all that trouble getting out. Hopefully it'll go in. Okay, so everything is safely together now, so it's just a matter of buttoning things up. Okay friends, if you've gotten this far, you're in pretty good shape. So we're going to try to bring this video to a close. You've got to put your ABS wire back in, connect it to the brackets, put the two nuts on your strut bolts, put the nut on your cross bolt that holds your ball joint in. Tighten them as tight as you can. I don't know exactly what the spec is on them, but they're not going to go anywhere. Just tighten them down as tight as you can. The only thing you got to worry about as far as the torque goes is your spindle nut right here. Now this is a 2010. So on a Nissan Rouge from a 2008 to a 2010, the spec is 92 foot-pounds to a maximum of 125 foot-pounds. So I'm going to set my torque wrench around 110, 115, somewhere in the middle there. Wait till you get the wheel on the ground, everything back together, the wheel on the ground, to torque that. For the time being, until you get it down on the ground, just snug it, and then when you get the car on the ground, the wheel's back on, then you can go ahead and torque it down. Now don't forget to replace your cotter pin, that's very important. So what else have we got here? Well, we have to reinstall the brakes. Now this is a good opportunity to replace the brakes if you need them. I'm not going to cover this because I've got several videos that show the proper way to install your brakes and rotors. One thing I will say is it's probably, if nothing else, a good idea to check the brakes for lubrication. Make sure your glide pins are well lubricated. So I want to thank you folks for watching Rick's Garage once again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and it is my hope that we will see you again sometime.